On July 31st, 1902, 22-year-old Charles Craven was hung, reportedly in connection to killing a Confederate veteran. This newspaper clipping says while awaiting trial, Craven was lynched on a county road half a mile from Leesburg. More than a century later, Leesburg Mayor Kelly Burke tells me Craven is the first of many lynching victims who will be formally honored and remembered.
The town, along with the NAACP, partnered together and the Freedom Center to put a marker here so that we could commemorate Charles Craven, who was a 22-year-old man that was accused of killing a white man.
Mayor Burke says Craven was taken a mile away to a jail where a mob showed up, dragged him out, and lynched him.
When he was dead, they shot him 100 times.
No justice was served for the 22-year-old, but Mayor Kelly Burke, alongside Loudoun County's NAACP past president, Phil Thompson, and current president, Pastor Michelle Thomas, have been pushing to right the wrongs since 2017.
This was a terrible event. This was a terrible thing that happened, but we want to recognize the impact it had and what was the implications of it. So that's why we wanted to do this.
We're introducing legislation this year to start as a commission to identify all the sites and have historical markers placed on all 98 sites. Virginia specialized in telling, about this 4-year period during which the Civil War occurred, but had nothing about Reconstruction and what happened during Reconstruction, which was the lynching and the other activities that occurred. So that's why this is significant, because you're telling the real history of the South.
The mile marker's location is significant for several reasons. Not only does it mark the spot where this tragedy took place, but it's also across the street from what is now a community center, but was once a high school for black students.
This is an official Virginia State Department of Historic Resources highway marker. It is those beautiful green and gray markers, or green and silver markers that you see while you're driving on the highway or down little roads and streets. And then you'll see like it's in the right-of-way. It's not something that can easily be moved or taken away. This is a permanent marker, so it's quite a bit of a big deal.
Loudoun County NAACP President Pastor Michelle Thomas says to have the state of Virginia recognize the lynching and grant historical markers was not an easy process.
Only a few of them, 5 of them or so, are even done a year, approved a year. And so we took our chances and we said, hey, this is our truth. This is a story that has to be told.
Next, we share 14-year-old Orion Anderson's story, a black teenage boy who we're told was lynched after chasing a white girl. We continue digging deep into Virginia's history and sharing how the community is pushing to correct injustices. On November 8, 1889, 14-year-old Orion Anderson was lynched in Leesburg, reportedly as punishment for chasing a white girl. His story and murder continues to make headlines.
It's hard to find the families. It's not easy at all. To be honest with you, the first family, we were just lucky, blessed, if you will, that we were able to find them. And there are a few people in the community that kind of went to church with them. Actually, to be honest with you, I used to preach at the church that they attended, and I am very good friends with the family. We did not know they had that lynching story.
I spoke with Anderson's descendants on the phone. I'm told they are still fearful when discussing their family's connection to the horrifying moment in history that's devastating. 135 years later, they still live in Leesburg, where this historical marker commemorates where Anderson was murdered.
They didn't know, and that was a part of the intimidation and a part of what happened during the lynching. The lynching did not only affect the person that was lynched, it affected the entire family and the community.
Loudoun County NAACP President Pastor Michelle Thomas says Anderson's descendants did not know their relation to Anderson until she told them. The revelation took place as Thomas and Leesburg community leaders were working tirelessly, starting an arduous journey to remember Virginia's often forgotten lynching victims.
We want to make sure that history is remembered for what it is, and that all Black history is American history, and that it's important that we know all the things that happened here. Sure, it was a terrible, terrible event, but that shouldn't be covered up. We should recognize it and make sure that it's out in the public and people realize it.
Leesburg Mayor Kelly Burke describes the dark past. In Orion's story, newspaper articles report the 14-year-old girl he reportedly chased could not identify him as her purported attacker.
So while we're ashamed of this part of our history, we still need to know about it, and we need to learn from it.
That pain is generational, and now you're getting healing. We hope that we have all these memorials in place in the next 5 years, and that people understand what happened in the South, that it wasn't just the Civil War. There was history after the Civil War, and it wasn't pleasant for African Americans.
And that history affected many others, like 22-year-old Charles Craven, who was lynched by a mob after being accused of killing a white man, and reportedly before any trial. 14-year-old Orion was attacked by up to 40 men before they lynched him, which also happened before facing a judge or jury, all here in Leesburg. From here, we're told the city and state leaders are working to remember the 95 remaining lynching victims across the Commonwealth. Charles Craven's mile marker, we're told, will go up in 2025.